Welcome back to 2CTV, your global news channel. We are here with the continued live coverage from the internal conflict in Syria over the last couple of hours. Absolutely insane scenes coming from the country, both in Damascus, in the capital, but also in the southwest, in Suwaida. Obviously, since yesterday, we had escalation from al-Julani's Islamist supporters and terrorists who decided to go and target the Druze and also Christians and other civilians in the southwest, primarily to, of course, wipe out the Druze community. Things kicked off when the Israeli Defense Forces came to the rescue of the Druze. Over the last couple of hours, everything that's happened, I'm just going to give you guys a quick summary of what you might have missed since the last live report that we had. So al-Julani's Syrian regime started to fire unguided rockets at the Druze in Suwaida. Let's go to the first video. Lunatics. Lunatics. Yeah, that went on for a while, and even though about 6 hours ago, if you're watching this live, we had the initial announcement by Damascus. The Syrian regime said that we already have a new agreement. We are going to be taking control of the whole of the southwest in Syria, and everybody is happy. The Druze are happy. Now, obviously, the Druze, not everybody was happy because they don't want to lose their own self-determination and their identity to a bunch of Sunni Islamists. So they hit back. The Israelis also came to help them. There was a lot of pressure from the Americans to push for some sort of agreement to force al-Julani to withdraw his forces. Things kicked off. And then in Aleppo, in Syria, al-Julani supporters came out and they demanded jihad. That went on for a while, even though the actual defense of Syria as a country is technically non-existent. If, for example, the Israeli Defense Forces wanted to hypothetically take over Syria, it won't take that long. It's not a situation like the Islamic Republic of Iran. Even those guys would have been completely destroyed if the Israelis would have been allowed to continue. The IDF, or the Israeli Air Force, started to carry out more airstrikes after what we showed you earlier today, which was the military headquarters in Damascus that was partially destroyed. They started attacking the Meza airport, near the Meza airport as well, which is by the capital in Damascus. Let's quickly go to that moment. It's just a few seconds. You can see the clouds, the smoke that came after the hit by the Israeli Air Force. And then we received this quick video from the west of Damascus.
الآن غارة جديدة على معظمية الشام. الآن غارة جديدة على معظمية الشام.
So the slight difference between, for example, the situation in the capital and in the south is that the capital was simply hit using airstrikes by the Israeli fighter jets. The south, you had airstrikes by the IAF, but at the same time, you also had ground battles because, of course, you had the Sunni Islamists, you had the al-Julani regime forces, and you had the Druze who are armed. Everybody was shooting at everybody. That became a complicated situation, mostly because of some of the local hospitals. There was we showed you the damage in the hospital earlier today when the National Hospital in Suwaida was under siege. There was another video that came out about an hour ago, which I'm not going to show you because the initial report on social media was the Islamists went into the hospital and massacred everybody. There was no evidence of that. What we did see, and of course the establishment denied those allegations, that they said they simply, these people were killed outside and they brought their bodies in. There's just not enough capacity in the hospital, so everybody was in chaos. The reality is they got killed anywhere. It doesn't matter if they got killed in the hospital or outside. That's the important thing. Anyway, having said that, we had the reaction after the 10-minute ceasefire that happened about 6 hours ago from the IDF chief saying on the issue of the Syrian border, he said, "We, Israel, will not allow southern Syria to become another stronghold of terrorism, just like Lebanon and other places." Yeah, the Israelis are finally learning from their mistakes in the past. Don't allow it to become another problem in the future. But then, the Druze did manage to capture some of the al-Jilani terrorists. This video, we have English subtitle. They asked the terrorists to explain who sent them and why they did this. According to the guy who was obviously being, was terrified, he said that their boss sent him.
من وين انت؟ من وين؟ شو اسمك؟
علي
علي شو؟
Wait
لمين
for it.
تابع انت؟
لوزارة الدفاع
لمين؟
Ministry of Defense.
وزارة الدفاع، لشو جيتوا على السويدة؟
بعتونا نبيد الدروز
شو تسووا؟
نبيد
بدك
Exterminate.
تبيدوا الدروز. انتوا كم مفطيسي معكم وكم اسير معك؟
في 200 واحد.
في 200 واحد، شو بتوجه كلمة لوزارة الدفاع ولرئيسك أحمد الشرع؟
مش انه ما يضرب الدروز.
Obviously, he's captured, he's terrified, he's going to have to say anything to keep the other side happy, right? You know, whenever you confess during essentially almost potential torture, right? So he knows he's probably not going to live. So the last thing he said, I asked him not to attack the Druze. Well, deep inside, he doesn't believe that. If he was already a Sunni Islamist, and if he works for the defense ministry, if he was sent by the Syrian government, we already know that he's a jihadist. He's not going to change his mind, suddenly see the light just because he's been captured. So he's just going to say whatever you want to hear. But of course, they have been getting the identification from these guys to ensure that they are who they are, but we don't know if they're alive or not at this point. Towards the end, the Gilani regime started to bombard the Suwaida neighborhoods. This wasn't just the Druze. We also had the other civilians, including Christians, using multiple rocket launchers. Defenseless people, by the way, because the Israeli defense forces were doing it from the sky. These people were just launching at civilians on the ground. Let's quickly go to that video. It's a few seconds. And then from here, we started getting more videos from them hitting their targets. Oh, nope. Nope. Same video. Go back. Okay, we'll bring the next video quickly while it comes back up. That it created a massive pressure because the Americans were spending most of the day simply saying we should just tell everybody to calm down and the Israelis to calm down and everybody to calm down. Then the US State Department became extremely robust, and big shout out to the State Department. They came out to say, their spokesperson said, we call on the Syrian government to withdraw their military forces. This, of course, changed the whole game. When the al-Jilani terrorist regime realized that the Americans are not going to allow al-Jilani and his minions to fully take over the south, because, of course, the Israelis told the Americans, whatever you want us to do, whatever you want in terms of the stability of the region, or if you want us to do a ceasefire or whatever, because the Americans were calling on Israel to suspend the airstrikes. Clearly, the Israelis told the Americans, the red line is we cannot allow the al-Jilani regime in Damascus to control the whole of the territory in the south, but in that southwest by the border with Israel. So the Americans said, withdraw your forces. Al-Jilani realized if he wants to play ball, if he wants to have any sort of opportunity to firstly stay as so-called president in Syria, but also play a major role on the international stage, including, potentially speaking, the Abraham Accords, which at this point is a little bit difficult to see how that's going to happen, he has to listen to the Americans. The Syrian security forces also started to arrest the Israeli citizens who crossed the border from Israel into Syria to go and fight. These are the Druze Israelis that crossed the border. Some of them obviously from Golan Heights and the others from inside Israel. And then they started arresting them. We don't know exactly what they're going to do with them. But they're going to have to deport them back to Israel anyway. That's logic, right? Otherwise, it's just going to cause more trouble. Let's go to the next video. This is when they got arrested. Well, that's the footage from the Druze that were taken by the Syria security forces. Then, of course, the last couple of hours has been absolutely insane with the Israeli airstrikes escalating until the last second when al-Jolani confirmed that the Syrian regime forces will withdraw from Suwaida.
الله أكبر الله أكبر مسيرة إسرائيلية سادة في الأمن العام شهداء يا شباب المشافي يا شباب افتحوا الطرقات جهزوا المشافي إصابات العشرات يا شباب مجموعة القرية عمموا.
So absolutely embarrassing humiliation for al-Jolani's forces. Were about, as I said, about five hours ago, they were fully confident that they were going to be fully taking control of al-Suwaida. Now they had to accept defeat. They had to realize it's not going to happen. Now they are going to be discussing ways to ensure stability in that part. In reality, the government in Syria still ideally want the southwest of Syria to reintegrate into the rest of the Syrian state. That might not be the best idea because the Druze are going to go crazy. So Israelis' solution is a full demilitarized zone and a buffer zone. Just keep it as that. There might be a third option. Of course, this is going to be part of a longer situation and part of the negotiations over the next few weeks, few months. But for now, it's been an absolutely embarrassing defeat for the Sunni Islamists who went in there, massacred a lot of innocent civilians, and they didn't even achieve what they wanted to achieve because they wanted two things. One, wipe out all the Druze, that's what they wanted. And two, take over their territory and basically link it to Damascus. Well, they failed both. They did, unfortunately, kill so many civilians, but at the same time, the Druze once again have survived. As a tribe, as a group, they're still around. And secondly, their territory, obviously the Syrian security is going to be there to ensure stability, but the actual regime troops have now withdrawn and they've gone back to Damascus. So for the next few hours, we expect a bit of peace. And let's see what happens tomorrow. All right, let's get some quick reaction from you guys. First, which had al-Golani, what is from Golan Heights in Israel, named after them, like the Golani IDF units. He also have a mugshot from Abu Ghraib prison. Thank you for that. Well, it looks like al-Jolani wants to have his cake and eat it too. Sorry, Jolani, it looks like you will have to learn the hard way. The thing is, he and his minions just made it a little bit more difficult for himself and his regime to continue their honeymoon period because they had the European Union, but I think they still have the European Union on their side because the European Union today spend more time criticizing Israel than the Syrian regime, right? Having said that, the other thing for al-Jolani has been to get the American government on side, Saudi Arabia on side, and ideally, eventually, Israel on side. By what happened this week in the south, they made it a little bit more difficult. As long as al-Jolani is a president, if you could even call him that, self-identified, I'm not really sure how the Israelis I'm not even sure how Saudi Arabia and MBS can even at this point defend the Syrian regime. they're still going to have to, because they don't want the alternative, which is the IRGC Shias to take over again. But it's not going to be easy for this new Syria to be able to continue with the way it was going until a couple of weeks ago. You know, shaking hands with President Trump, hang out with with Saudi Arabia, getting close to the Israelis. All that effort, now you're going to have to go back. I wrote about this happening back in 2011. Assad was the protector of minorities. Not true. Not the moderate Islamists. The West backed the wrong side. No, I mentioned this all day throughout the live streams. People in the West believe everything is a binary. It's like team blue, team red, or this side or that side. One side has to be good, one side has to be bad. Now, sometimes both sides are horribly wrong, almost on equal level, just from different angles. Assad was, for example, pretending to care about Christians. He might have been protecting some Christian churches, but Christians themselves were being persecuted. You also had the other minorities. They might not have been massacred all the time, like what's going on now, but they were not free. They were not being protected, and they did not have equal rights. So, you know, it's all about which angle you want to see it. The Shia nutters who've been pushing Assad to basically be even crazier than before, or the Sunni nutters, led by, of course, Al-Jilani, the monster. So another DMZ, like in Korea, the Cold War there has gone on for, what, 70 years? Tunnels, listening posts, famous incidents of trees getting chopped down. And someone else says, well, the EU can get stuffed. Well, I agree with that. This is the one comment I fully agree with. The European Union can definitely get stuffed. The EU stands for Islamic Union. Not bad. Could be more creative, but it's okay. We have Tony saying actions speak louder than words as usual. He's not to be trusted, and sanctions need to be placed back against Syria. Yeah, I mean, even the honeymoon period, which was over the last couple of months, I did say, obviously, it's good to ensure that all these countries are falling behind, behind the narrative, which is Abraham Accords. But I did say, you have to keep your eyes on people like Al-Jilani. You don't have to trust them. You shouldn't trust them. When MBS in Saudi Arabia and others were going around shaking hands with Al-Jilani, they know, because they are also the grown-ups, that, you know, you can do this. You can try to influence an idiot like Al-Jilani, but doesn't mean you have to trust and believe everything that he says. As long as he does the right thing, it's fine. And it seemed that he was doing the right thing for like 10 minutes when he was also keen on joining the Abraham Accords. But it's about the actions. And I said eventually, if he's not going to behave, then you're going to have to punish him. He's a very naughty boy. So let's quickly go to the members of 2C TV Plus. Don't forget to, obviously, if you want to get more out of this channel and get access to all our documentaries and our original series and our chat forum, which we can also comment here, then become a member by going directly on 2c.tv. You will get 1 month free membership if you join as an annual subscriber. But also don't forget to download the 2C TV app from your app store, the home of geopolitical news. Now, let's go to the members. What are you guys talking about here? Lynn says, God bless the IDF. It's really amazing that Israel stepped up to help, even with everything else they're facing. But that's the, I mean, considering that the Israelis are basically fighting millions of enemies at the same time, and they don't have a large army like the United States or China, they've still been able to actually keep an eye on all angles, all sides, when it comes to the Islamist threats. Breaking news, stocks in Alan Snack Bar saw its record high. Alan Snack Bar. The IDF are the real defenders of the free world. God bless the IDF. Depressing thing is that all mainstream media news channels in Australia are just saying that Israel is striking Syria. Nothing about stopping... Yeah, they don't really explain why Israel has been hitting Syria. So out of context, if you're just watching the mainstream media, you don't know what's going on, you just be like, why is Israel attacking Syria? That makes no sense. Evil, evil. because the mainstream media don't want to tell you the main reason, because it will make the Israelis look good. TCTV is the only way to get objective coverage in the West. Thank you. Well, thank you for that. Does somebody know something about the UN troops in the south of Syria? Don't know. The only way to protect the Druze in Syria is for the IDF to send troops to secure the area. Unfortunately, that will cause international uproar. The real solution is, as the Israeli government have already said, is to have a demilitarized zone. That's it. Now, of course, you're going to have someone to monitor that. Maybe you could get President Trump again, like Gaza. Trust, then verify. Think this proves violently. You can't trust him. Well, yeah, no. I'm going to repeat myself. Even when the honeymoon period was happening with Al-Jilani, and he was saying, I want to join the Abraham Accords, shaking hands with Trump, I said, just keep an eye on him. It's fine. If he wants to be a good boy, then let him be a good boy. You don't have to trust him. Don't trust him. You shouldn't trust him. It doesn't mean if you have to agree with him doing the good things, doesn't mean you should trust him. Definitely don't trust him, but still let him be a good boy. If he wants to be a good boy, let him be a good boy. Keep your eye on him. But obviously, everybody knew that eventually something's going to go wrong. And I didn't really think it's going to be within days or weeks. But I thought it's going to be at least a few months or a year until... I thought he's going to get close to the Abraham Accords and Syria is going to get all the money and everything else and trade. And then they're going to go try to wipe out the Druze. The idiots were a little bit impatient with their jihad. That's what usually happens anyway. Let's just double check. I believe we might be getting some update on this so-called ceasefire. By the way, guess who has criticized Israel for trying to protect the Druze? The Islamic Republic of Iran, of course. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard are now blaming everything on Israel, saying that nothing was happening in Syria and the Israelis fabricated the whole scenario in order to occupy the capital, Damascus. As if Israel don't have enough problems. Imagine if they were to literally take over Syria. That will be a little bit chaotic, but if you want to believe the Islamic Republic, that is up to you, of course. I guess the CNN will believe them, but if they want to. Right, let's just go back to the members. What is going on here? My eyesight is going crazy now. I've been literally staring at the monitor all day. I can't see. Literally can't see. That's the last comment. There we go. Are you going to cover Al-Jilani withdrawal? Asking for a friend. Some of the members of TCTV take the concept of inside joke to a whole new level. We got thousands of people watching right now. Nobody understands that joke. I'm not going to explain the joke. If you want to get the joke, become a member of TCTV Plus, join our chat forum, and then you'll find out what the joke is. Al-Jilani is doing taqiyya, means deception, so Al-Jilani is not to be trusted. I don't know why people keep reminding people that Al-Jilani shouldn't be trusted. Has anybody ever said in the history of this planet, since Al-Jilani's parents forgot to use a condom and his mom got pregnant, has anybody ever said Al-Jilani should be trusted? I don't think so. I mean, I'm pretty sure at some point somebody said, maybe Bin Laden's friends in his school, when they were going on school trips, maybe Bin Laden's friends said you could trust Bin Laden. Even Bin Laden, even Adolf, someone told him in his vegetarian club. But I don't think anybody has ever said Al-Jilani should be trusted. So obviously he shouldn't be trusted. We got a weird spammer. Let's ban the idiot. There we go. Goodbye, spammer. Out of interest, what are your main sources of factual information abroad? What news sources do you use mainly? So we got right now 32, I believe, 32 2CTV reporters and journalists that we have around the world in each region. We have a couple, we have a few in each regional continent, obviously. We also, of course, do have, because of them, because of their work, we have access to the authorities. So we get the actual updates from the authorities, but we also have to sometimes verify it with local sources, which takes some time. But we also have a partnership with organizations that have the live feed and live cameras on the ground as well. That's what we are able to, for example, show you guys. The live feed, which is now completely been paused, which because it's now ended, that was from before, the previous live stream. That was from the Israeli-Syrian border. And then most of it, we're going to have to just check, double check and triple check, which takes some time. That's why when we schedule a live breaking news for you guys, we still have to do it a few minutes in advance, because we have to just go and check everything. And we still make mistakes, because sometimes something gets sent to us, and then the last minute, the picture is the wrong picture, and we have to apologize and correct it. Actually, it happened earlier. I was going to show you a video. It was the wrong video. That's just technical issues, I guess. But we are also increasing our network of what we call 2CTV agents. These are the, of course, reporters and journalists around the world. The 2CTV agents, if you want to become one of those guys, obviously you have to prove that you can be trusted, not like Al Jelani. Then obviously send us an email by going on 2c.tv, our website. Right, what is this? Someone is telling me to read between the lines. Oh, what is this? I think you need to read between the lines. Europe crowned him for one reason: to ship back all Syrians that are in their countries. Yeah, that's not a... Yeah, no. Because logically, that's... no. And that's why it hasn't happened. Everybody got excited. It's now been, what was it, almost a year now? Months ago, when Al Jelani took over, everybody said, well, that's good, Syrians are going to go back. And then they said, oh, the European politicians are going to Damascus. They've signed a deal. Everybody was in that secret meeting room. Everybody was like, yeah, I heard what they talked about. You know, like, no, you weren't. They were just having a secret meeting. Not a secret, private meeting. And they said, no, we know that they've agreed to send the Syrians. The Syrians are not going to go back to Syria. Why on earth would you leave a big, nice European city to go back to a chaotic country just because Assad is gone? Assad that you didn't like. A lot of them have been staying. They're not going to go back. So even if that was the attempt by the Europeans, didn't work. It was in the interest of Erdogan to obviously do this. It was an Erdogan-backed coup. But that's for a whole different day anyway. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we will keep you guys posted. Subscribe to the channel. As I said, don't forget to download the 2CTV app, the home of geopolitical news. You also get access to our news alerts and news posts that we, obviously, our team of 2CTV agents help keep you guys posted throughout the day. I'm Maya 2C, and we are the media.